You ever notice how on social media everyone takes accountability? Now, my question is, where exactly are they taking this accountability? Because they're not showcasing this accountability. They don't ever take accountability when it really matters. Anytime something big happens or someone is doing a story time about a time they did something bad or negative, they always seem to point at someone else. It's like they've mastered the art of the comparison Olympics. I mean, yeah, it's bad, but at least it's not that bad. It's like accountability, but for limbo. How low can you go with pointing out someone else's shortcomings? So today we're going to be comparing our failures to each other's. Okay, I may be bad, but at least I'm not worse than you, right? At least I'm doing good enough. I'm doing just enough that I can look down on you. So let's dive into today's video, shall we? That's a phrase I want to brush over called downward comparison. Because on social media, people rarely compare themselves to success stories anymore. They see someone failing and they compare their lows to their lows. It's for a quick ego boost, right? And when they compare their lows to each other's, they leave out a key element that's called context. A story without context is just a thought, right? Check this out. You didn't finish college. Well, they say, well, neither did Steve Jobs, and look at him. But they leave out the fact that Steve, after he dropped out into a garage and helped to create Apple, $1 billion company. You dropped out and you also had a garage at home. But that's where your parents parked their car because you went back home and did nothing with your life afterwards. It's a different playbook, and you guys are playing on different playing fields. You and Steve Jobs, the person you compared yourself to. But his story isn't inspiration to you. It's a way. It's a way for you to cope with dropping out of college, right? Or check this one out, right? Are you still doing your business plan? Well, no, but at least I didn't miss out on millions like that one dude from Shark Tank. But you leave out the fact that he was even considered to be offered X amount of money from the sharks on Shark Tank, and that he tried and he was able to get there. You were never even offered the opportunity to gain or to lose out on millions because you gave up in the brainstorming process. You never even got the prototype finished because your cousin said that they didn't like your sales pitch, and they critiqued your product one time by just saying, instead of red, why not do blue? So you crumbled and folded and you gave up. Or, last one, I promise. You still living at home at 32? Well, yeah, it makes sense because the economy is bad. Now, the economy is bad. Inflation is real and it's very much alive. But you leave out the fact that you've been home for the past 10 years after finishing college because you went back and you were able to finish, right? You've been out for the past 10 years and you've done nothing. And if your only excuse is, well, everybody is struggling, how are your friends and peer groups able to stack money, save money, and move out of their parents' house? What are you doing? Are you leaning? You're not simply leaning on the economy. You're leaning on the excuse to justify your actions by staying home. And you try to mask it as survival. It's not surviving, it's marinating. You're sitting in these failures, making up all these excuses on why this isn't going right, why you should go left, and everything up under the sun. People online, it's a way to cope. You hijack somebody else's rock bottom just to make yours look less steep when you're basically on the same level. A 2020 study actually backs this up. The Journal of Clinical and Social Psychology found that downward social comparison leads to short-term ego boosts, but often results in long-term stagnation. To put it in English, when you compare yourself to someone doing much worse than you, you feel good temporarily, but it often results in you losing the push to improve your own situations because you're becoming comfortable with comparing yourselves, but you're not coming up with any solutions to your own problem because you're worried about someone else's. And then when they pass you, you think, Well, where did it go wrong? What could I have done better? What you could have done better is not compare yourself and focus on your situation, not someone else's. The internet talks about toxic stuff all the time. These buzzwords, toxic, toxic, toxic. But what I'm saying is toxic relativity. People don't say I messed up. They say I messed up, but they're doing worse than me. Another example, you burn your house down. The first thing you say is, people come up and say, well, what happened? Well, my house burned down, but at least it's not hot pink like my neighbor's house. The fire is still on your property. Why is your attention being diverted to everything else around you and not the situation at hand? Why is that so hard to do? It's three things that cause this: ego protection, algorithmic validation, and of course, a community of excuses. When it comes to ego protection, that self-serving bias that you naturally have towards yourself, like we all do, we only attribute failures to external factors, and all successes are internal. We're the ones that cause them. Of course, it's not luck. We did it. We're the center of attention. We're the ones that matter the most because we hold all the power in the world, right? And I understand that from a personal standpoint. Algorithmic validation. Well, online posts that have a lot of excuses, they get a lot of engagement. Because when you're posting stuff and leaving out that context that I talked about earlier in the video, people take your word as law. And that's all they have. Without having full context, people get together in these comment sections that leads to the next one, a community of excuses, and they all complain back and forth with one another because all they're simply doing is validating their own excuses. Oh, finally, I'm not the only one. Oh, I'm not alone. Are we all really living the same lives? It's a way to validate one another. We can validate our excuses together. I used to tell all my friends, don't associate with losers. Losers hang around other losers. When I was going through the military, in these courses we would have, people would always complain about the small stuff. I never engaged in those complaints because I know complaints breed comfortability. Well, if I'm going to fail anyway, why not fail with you? Let's fail together. So now we created a group of failures and we all have the same excuse on why we failed. No, that breeds comfortability. It goes back to my earlier point. All these excuses, they just marinate in this big stinking pot and we pass out this failure soup. Here, you want some failure? Here you go. Have some of this failure. And here's my problem with it all. When we all compare down instead of striving upward, the collective standard drops across the board, kind of like the military. It's like no one wants to take accountability anymore. Because then it's not just individual, it becomes a cultural thing. Everybody's okay with doing the absolute bare minimum and nothing else. And then they compare those bare minimum standards to other people's bare minimum standards. And now you have a culture of people who just don't care and lack accountability. And that's the most dangerous thing, I'm afraid. A 2021 study by Frontiers in Psychology found that, you won't believe this, accountability is one of the strongest predictors of long-term achievement and success. And without it, people fall into cycles of repeat failures or inactions. Because, think about it. If the first time if you look around you, right, your friends, family, whoever it may be, coworkers, and if something goes wrong with them, and the first thing they do is look around at someone to point their finger at, instead of looking straight down at themselves, then they lack accountability. A quick analogy, someone can be running down the road and they keep falling, skinning their elbows. They keep falling, skinning their knees. This time they fell and they hit their face on the concrete and knocked out a tooth. They blame the city. Oh my God, all these potholes. Oh my God, who leveled this sidewalk? Oh my God, why is the concrete chipping? And they look down at their feet to realize that they're running with boots on opposite feet. And they aren't even laced up, and that's why they keep falling face first, face flat. And on social media, accountability is the one thing that won't trend. You know why? Because perfection and people People don't care about what you did to make a situation worse. They only care about the situation itself. So they can compare what they did in their own situations to your situation. It's a lot of mental hurdles and jumps and leaps and all these other things because we're creating a culture of people who just don't care. It's like not even the entire world as a collective said, well, if no one moves forward, then nobody else can fall behind. And technically, they're right. You can't fall behind if you're not moving. But like I said, that creates stagnation, and you start doing the same thing, the same cycle of doing the same thing and comparing, doing the same thing to somebody else who's doing the same thing. A culture of losers. That's what we're going to call it. Not my viewers, because I know my viewers are like driven people. So the next time you catch yourself saying, well, I'm not as bad as, remember, you're not moving forward by doing that. You're only moving sideways, trying to see where you can get in to fit in, to find excuses to justify your actions. And think about it, if everybody's moving sideways, nobody can actually move forward. And accountability isn't about being perfect. It's about learning, adjusting, and leveling up as you get older with age and wisdom and so on and so forth. So don't try to feel prettier than someone else. Think for yourself and think, what can I do to prevent this from happening next time? Or simply take accountability. So take accountability, like, and subscribe. We need the views, guys. Why aren't we getting the views? Do I suck that bad? If you made it this far, you must really like my videos, or you're probably my mom. But let me know. Peace.